So the question that I think is something you should be asking yourself daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, should be something that's repetitively on your mind is, are you being intentionally or unintentionally formed? What are you becoming as a person? Romans 12:2 says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. And so if we find ourselves moving through the world without intention, we will become a certain type of person. The world is seeking to form you into its image, just as God is interested in you being formed into his. And a good example of this is I'm going to name off a couple places, and I want you to pay attention to the things that come to your mind. New York City, San Francisco, Las Vegas, China, Russia, Brazil, Florida, Georgia. What are the things that came to your mind? What types of people? What types of lifestyles? What was the culture of those places? What have those places formed people into so that you and I have pictures and images in our mind of the types of people that are in those places? See, the environment that we are in forms us. And I want us to look through this pyramid as a way for us to examine our own lives. So what environments are we in the majority of the time? And what have those things at the top of the pyramid caused us to believe? Whether they are true or untrue, what are the things that we have begun to believe? And how have the things that we have believed began to inform the habits that we live our daily lives with? What is the pattern? What are the things that we do on a regular basis? Because we live out what we believe to be true. We can say a lot of things, but how we live our actual life will determine what you truly believe to be true. And then lastly, relationships. Who are the people that you hang out with by choice, by preference? That can be good or bad. But it's important to recognize where the things, where the beliefs, where the systems are that maybe have taught you certain things that you now believe and live out as if they are true, and they may not be. So I'll give us an example to walk through this pyramid together in a way that I think will be helpful and applicable for our own lives. So let's take, for example, a young child who has two parents, but both parents are not really interested in being involved in this child's life. And they're more interested in their career and their job and the other things. And they believe that living out that will be the true meaning of life. But they're neglecting their kid because of it. And so what they've done is they just put their kid in school, and they don't have a lot of interaction with their kid. But now the kid's primary environment and where he is being raised is the school. And the school is telling him a whole lot of things that he should be thinking and believing, and that's from the beginning through your doctorate. And then at the same time, media will begin to inform this child's life, and then politics, and so on. And generally, there's probably more things than this, but I created a list here for us to think about what the world is trying to raise us into. 1, that there is no God. 2, that all morality is a social construct created by people in power to keep themselves in power. And that's where you get patriarchal language, right? You are an animal aided by time and chance through survival of the fittest and propagation of the species by domination. And lastly, the meaning of life is to be happy and feel good in whatever moment. Just keep it consensual. So if this is what you are taught through the media, through TV shows, through politics, through the schooling system, and you don't have something that is combating that lie, you will begin to believe that it's true. And it will begin to be quite easy to make decisions based off the reality that you actually believe is true because you're being taught it as if it is true, not as if it's something to wrestle with. When you're taught most things, it is put in front of you as this is truth, not here's some different views, take some time to determine what you think is actually true. They just hand you things. Hey, you should believe this as true. And typically, if someone were to live according to these things and believe these things, they'll begin to act amorally because there's no God, there's no morality. Completely with self-interest because if you're an animal, survival of the fittest, why would you not take care of yourself alone? And that will lead to violent or hedonistic tendencies. And this leads us to motivated reasoning. We rarely form opinions based off of careful analysis, but instead we start with a gut feeling and then we go on a search to find justification for that. Many people don't have an opinion until they're asked for it, at which point they cobble together a viewpoint from whim and half-remembered hearsay before deciding that this 2-minute-old makeshift opinion will be their new hill to die on. You see, I've found in many conversations, discipling many different people and leading many different Bible studies in lots of different atmospheres, that most people are about 3 to 5 why questions away from not really knowing why they believe what they believe and not really have a foundational understanding of where a lot of the things that they believe to be true come from. And they'll create opinions so strongly on hills they're willing to die on, but they have no idea where those beliefs even came from. But it was handed to them as true, and then they're asked to defend something, they build an opinion, and we can't say, I'm sorry. We can't take the acceptance for, oh, I said something that was wrong, or I believe something that was wrong, and I've actually changed my mind because I've learned and grown, because we're too prideful as a people. We're called to live humbly and to change our opinions, to acknowledge when we've made wrong decisions or stood for wrong things.